Hello, folks, and my name is Dan Hollifield, and welcome to Last Man Standing. This is basically the after show for Stupid O'Clock, and Stupid O'Clock was going so well that we decided we just continue it on right here. Let me bring in Josh and Bill, and there are other people that would be willing to jump in here anytime if they would just message me with the request for the link, and no one has done so yet. So, gentlemen, we are on our own. Uh,
Love the new intro.
oh, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, almost had the horn part of it was almost a kind of a 007 flair to it.
Well, this is part of one of my most recent albums. I did something that was basically, let me see if I can do as many theme songs for possible web shows as I can, and I put the album out there, and I go, okay, 50 cents, folks. Buy it one time. You don't have to pay me every time you use it. Just, and go for it. Try not to overlap, and nobody use the same ones in the same broadcast network. But, I had this one laying around, and I'm going, I like this. It's a little upbeat, which is, I usually do these softer, more meditative sort of things. But every once in a while, I will kick out the jams and do some jazz or something. And this is one of those times. So this is going to be the normal intro theme for a while. The outro theme has not changed. Uh, parts of the text have been slowed down so you can read the story at the end. I don't believe people would forgive me if some people would forgive me if I changed the actual story at the end of the show. So we're doing good, but I'm glad y'all like the new music, and
Yeah.
I've got a couple other things in here too. I've got a Rising Tide advertisement with the voiceover by me, and I've got an intermission thing that lasts about 2.5 or 3 minutes, so I can get up and run to the bathroom and have enough time to get back. Because
That don't you know that's when you're supposed to play Hey Jude, so at least you got a 7-minute bathroom break.
yeah, when I wish I could play Inagata Davida, so I had a 17-minute bathroom break, especially after cooking chili for my wife this weekend. I mean, that's I have had to make a mad dash or two to the restroom at work, eating the leftovers, and I finally finished off the leftovers of the chili today.
Yeah, that mild chili.
It was very, very mild because she requested, she gets severe heartburn. So I didn't want to keep her up with that and make her miserable in the middle of the night. So we went. It was basically my mom's recipe for chili without any of my adaptations. So, and
Well,
that's
since I was over in Champaign today having to get eye exams and other things knocked off the list, which I forgot to get a passport photo. No, I'm not leaving the country. So, but I'm doing my FOID card renewal. And the state of Illinois, for those who don't know, is severely backed up on people trying to get their either a brand new FOID card for the first time or like myself, just to get a renewal. Part of it is due to the pandemic last year and this year both. They're really having a lot of problems with getting people to work, and then of course they're all having to work from home too. The other part, it's the state of Illinois. So I'm just so that they know that I'm who I am, even though the photograph will not be used on my FOID card. They actually use your photograph from your driver's license or state ID, but they want to know that it's me that's filling out this questionnaire. And so when I send that back, telling them how much of a criminal I am, I got to send a little picture. And so,
one like this and one like that.
yeah, exactly. Holding up the numbers,
Well,
But
Ace says he'll be 38 years old on his next birthday.
all right.
I was trying to read that. No, I couldn't read it. So
Yeah, it's one of the few things I do well is reading.
well, it looked like 36, but
It sounds like me and Bill ain't the only ones needing glasses now, Josh.
Yeah, the way he's
Well,
rubbing his eyes and
no, I was like Bill.
It's the pollen. That's all it is. Some of that ragweed just keeps hanging on.
Oh yeah.
well, that's Josh's branding. Rodney Dangerfield used to adjust his collar. Josh just rubs his eyes.
No respect. No respect.
No respect for Josh at all.
Oh well, I do have. Okay, we've only got 4 people watching, so this should be safe to say. I was in contact with the publisher of my first book, and the contract has run out, and the rights have reverted to me. Now they're going to scale down their publishing because they've gotten into other things like doing a podcast like this. So I contacted the fellow that published my second book and said, "Hey, look, can we reissue this, and we can do all these nice things?" And he goes, "Yeah." And we contacted the artist that did the cover art for the original book, and we're getting contracts sent out to him where we can purchase the artwork all over again, because he had a contract with that publisher, not with me. So we got to buy the rights all over again. That's the right way to do it. And he has an alternate cover that we didn't use back in the day. And I'm going, hey, put volume 1 on the one that we did use and put volume 2 on the one that we didn't use, and I'll write more stuff and come out with another one. So basically what came out this week was I now have what amounts to a 4-book deal.
Cool.
The Tom Darby stuff that I've been working on, the Spaceport Bar stories that is no longer going to be put out by the previous publisher, going to be reissued in a new edit and all the typos corrected version, and then a second volume of the Spaceport Bar stories, because I've already got about a third of that written. It's not something I'm ever going to stop writing. I've got hundreds and thousands of ideas for. All I got to do is sit down and type out the words. And then I've got the fantasy story as well that I've been working on, and it's I'd say about half done. So we're going to put that one on the back burner and get the reissue of the first book and get the Tom Darby book out, and then get the volume 2 of the Spaceport Bar stories out, and then I will work on the fantasy story with the Cat and the Crow. So
and where can we find this book at?
Well, at the moment, everything is still on Amazon, and you might even still be able to find the Spaceport Bar book on Barnes and Noble. I'm not sure about that. Now, I haven't looked to see whether or not the original publisher has already pulled stuff down. But if you Google Dan L. Hollifield on Amazon, you pretty much get links to not only all the stuff that I have written, whether it's in a short story anthology where I've only got one story in it, or if it's stuff that's entirely by me, but you get links to, well, unfortunately, you can't buy CDs of my first 3 albums anymore because Amazon has closed that part down of CreateSpace. So they're gone. Anybody that has any of my first 3 albums on CD, those are now collector's items. And then you'd have to go to my account on Bandcamp where you can buy the other 7 or 8 albums I've cut out. So now, the last 2 that I did, one of them is kind of music for meditation, which was, I think, the last thing that I did, and the one before that was the music for streaming web shows. So those are out there, and there's stuff that from my garage band days. There's I think 2 or 3 that we did. It's all live recordings, warts and all. We're sitting there jamming out and just having fun. I've got some more of that in the vaults that is clamoring to get out, but I'd have to go back through and re-edit and do some noise reduction on things because it was, like I said, it was all live stuff in the studio that I had in my living room in the apartment that I lived in.
So what? I just had an idea pop into my head, which is very dangerous.
Treat it gently. It's in a strange place.
I'm telling you, it's like, but I thought of some bumpers that you could create when you got to go get another beer, or as we like to say, do an Amy Hale, something of that nature, and maybe make them look like the bumpers that Johnny Carson used to use on the old Tonight Show, but then doing somebody doing the artwork, whatever, and then of course using your music for the bumpers and make it whatever long you need it to be, maybe a 30-second or 1-minute bumper, whatever.
Usually it takes a little bit more than 2 minutes because I will go to the bathroom and then I will go to the fridge and then my wife will want to have a conference and then I've got to run back before that 2 minutes is up. So basically the ads with the voiceover that I did for Rising Tide are about 2 minutes long. And the one that I did is basically, it just says, intermission, please don't leave, except to go to the bathroom. And that goes on for a little bit longer than 2 minutes, but I think it might be 3 minutes, but it's still, it's the same sort of thing. It's just a card with some of the music that I've written in the background. And I think with the intermission card, I actually wrote that. I think it was yesterday night. I wrote the music for it, and like 1 a.m. my wife comes in. She's going, "I'm going to bed. Are you awake?" I'm going, "Yeah. Let me just upload this." Okay, Ace. Yes, Tales from the Marinebrium. That is the Spaceport Bar Stories. And Abducted. That is the novella, the Tom Darby Adventures, which I'm writing a prequel for. Now, read the Tom Darby book first, and then you'll get references that are kind of scattered through the Spaceport Bar Stories if you read it secondly. So that's the author's recommended reading order, because there are bits and pieces that you find out things in Abducted that won't make sense if you read those references in the Spaceport Bar stories, the Marinevrium stories. But if you read them the right way around, you go, oh, I know what's going to happen now. And it's not spoilers. It's like steak sauce. It just makes it taste a little bit better than what it would have before.
Just a little more juicy.
Yeah. Now a lot of my stuff is loosely tied together because I deal with time travel a lot, and a lot of people either they love it or they hate it. It just depends on how they feel about that particular genre. But the Spaceport Bar stories are basically just different characters being the narrators sitting around in this one bar on this one planet right outside this one spaceport, and they're telling each other stories. And you've got other people in the bar talking to them and asking them questions while they're trying to tell their story. And you never know whether or not it's a true story, or if it's something they made up, or if it's something that happened to somebody else that they heard from another bar story and just decided it's such a good story, I'm going to tell it like it happened to me. And basically what I did, I wrote 2 of these things back in 1997, and a fellow asked me if he could write a third one, and I said, "Sure, go for it. You know, I don't know when the next one's going to come to me." And it turned into a shared universe. So on my website over at Aphelion, there's almost 100 of these stories, and I had to take out the ones that I wrote so I could put the book out and not violate the publisher's contract. But there's 100 of them by about 30 different writers, and I'm just one of them. And some of them are even better than mine.
Wow.
I mean, I wish I still had contact information for these folks so I could put out collections of their stuff too. I would love to be able to do that because at one time there was we had a hit counter on the page for the Spaceport Bar stories, and there were over 2 million hits on that page. Now I put out my collection of my stuff and wrote new stuff. I think there were 6 or 8 that I already had, and I wrote another 10 or thereabouts. And I sold 200 or 300 copies. You put a price tag on something, people would rather read it online for free than actually pay you for several years' work, what it amounts to. Say, a week to a month per short story, depending on how long it is and how fast you write, how inspired you are.
Same way with music nowadays. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, on
Well,
on
I got
Band,
it.
on Bandcamp, I'm charging like 50 cents a song, except for the first 3 albums, and I'm going to go back and drop the price on those to 50 cents a piece, and a reasonable price for the entire album as a download, digital download. So yeah, the only reason I had the prices jacked up before when I repeated on Bandcamp is so they had the exact same price as the physical CDs on Amazon, and now those no longer exist. I don't have that straitjacket on. I've managed to cut the sleeves away, and I'm swinging through the jungle now on my own. So all I got to do is watch out for that tree.
Yeah, as far as books go, I gotta have something in my hands to read, some, physical print, or
Well,
as Cindy Kep would call it, a floppy. And and true, I think, it's like when you get people to autograph stuff like that for you, how are they going to autograph something if it's just going to be a digital download or something for a book?
I've been lucky with my books so far. Everything does have a physical copy,
Mm,
and the publishers have to charge their own price for that. On the Marin Ebroom stories, the Spaceport Bar stories, the paperback price was $15 and change. The hardback price was $26 and change. The ebook, I think, was under $4. And basically, the publisher and I split equal amounts, and the printers got the rest of the money. But on the ebook, I get 50 cents per copy sold. The publisher got 50 cents per copy sold. On the $16 paperback, I got 40 cents. The publisher got 40 cents. The printer got the rest of the money.
mm.
Well, the printer and Amazon split it. And then on the hardback, I got 30 cents. The publisher got 30 cents. And Amazon and the printer split the rest of that. And I'm going, that's kind of an awful lot to pay, but I realize that actually having print stuff does cost more, especially if you want quality and not something that's going to fall apart the first time you read it. I've gotten a few things from, say, some of the print-on-demand companies. I'm not going to name their names, but just about the first time you get 3/4 of the way through, you're having to tape pages back in because the production values are a bit cheap.
I was gonna say I ain't gonna say what book it is. It's a political book, but I'm about halfway through it. But yeah, it's a good book, conservative book. I'll just say that.
Well, I was, and it hurts me because the man just passed away here a week or so ago. I was one of a number of fans that sent him fan mail, and he was able to get his agent to convince his publisher to get his political essays printed out and put out in a book. And his name is L. Neil Smith, and the name of the book is Lever Action, after the Winchester lever action. And it is libertarian. It is not conservative. It is not liberal. It is, well, let's just say most libertarians think the left-right spectrum of politics is just so much hogwash. They're kind of off onto into another side. They're not liberal. They're not conservative. They believe in the U.S. Constitution as it was written, and should be enforced.
No big government, nothing like that.
Yep, no big government. Pretty much try and do away with taxes, but you're also doing away with things like Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid, and just basically keep the government as small as possible and keep it on a tight leash.
Yep.
Don't let them get powerful. And other than that, do what you will as long as nobody gets harmed, is the whole of the law. Nowadays, I don't see how a lot of that could be implemented without an awful lot of people getting hurt in the changeover. It could work. I don't know how. But it would be an ideal situation where everybody is a full-grown adult and able to make their own decisions about whatever it is that they're going to do with their life and not hurt anybody else and still be able to make a living.
Well, people's been on the government tip for so long, it wouldn't work.
Mm. Yeah, it'd be hard to imagine corporations without the corporate welfare.
Yep.
And that's one of the things that this would go for. And then again, like I said, you've got lots of grandparents and great grandparents out there. Their only source of income now is their Social Security and their Medicare and their Medicaid and whatever they've been able to save all through their life. And some of them wasn't all that much because it's expensive to raise a family.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes you can't throw money into a savings account for retirement because kids got to eat and they got to have clothes and they got to go to school and they've got to have books. And back in the day when it was me, got to go to college and you got to provide for that without taking out some crippling loan that the kids are going to have to pay off for the next 70 years or whatever it is now.
Well, I was about to say, they ain't gonna be a Social Security when I get that old. But
I've been hearing that for 50 years and it still ain't come true.
well, I just don't see it. I mean, especially if they get that crap passed. I mean, $6 trillion passed through. I
For
mean,
what?
the infrastructure bill.
That's pretty much the same kind of thing that Roosevelt was doing back in the day.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it turned out to be a good thing. I mean, we've got roads, we've got bridges, we've got water pipes, we've got places that purify water and sewage treatment plants and things like that. And a lot of construction companies hired a lot of people and folks made a living.
Well, only like 15 billion of that is going to infrastructure. So
It's about half what we need to spend. No, really, seriously. This is the 21st century. We need to fix some stuff. There's still places that needed repairs from the 60s and ain't got them yet. Look at all these bridges that are falling apart.
Well, I was about to say, they was talking about it was a tropical. It wasn't even tropical when it hit New York. That storm, Ida.
Yep. And they were not.
And they had redid their crap for a 5. They just planned for 5 years, and redid it from Sandy. But we still flooded. Why did you just plan for 5 years?
Well, that's the thing. They're not going to be in office for more than 5 years.
Exactly.
Or they're going to go to another job, or they're going to get another job as a lobbyist with kickbacks from the corporations that they'll be lobbying for.
Yep.
When it comes to politics, I'm very, very, very cynical.
I mean that state. I mean it just pisses me off. But you got people that lives in basements, apartment basements and stuff like that. That's where 90% of the people that died were in. So I mean, it's
Yep, being downstairs when it floods is not the right place to be. But if that's all you got, then even life jackets are not going to help you if the water gets high enough.
Oh
Yeah, there's a lot of short-term stuff that gets done, and it looks good on paper. When you need the long-term stuff,
yep.
that nobody can find the budget to do.
It's nothing but
Chris, hop in here if you want a happier topic. We'll be glad to talk about whatever it is football team you like or whatever.
let's go.
We're just rolling here.
Yeah, roll tide.
Yeah. Go Dogs and take the damn Falcons with you.
High tide and low tide.
It's more of green grass and high tides forever.
Yeah.
That's more my speed. Oh, no, we can talk about anything. We just got on this and nobody's derailed us yet. That's all it is. Politics is one of the least favorite things I have in my repertoire of subjects to have a conversation about, because no matter what I say, somebody's going to get pissed.
Everybody.
Not necessarily you two, but somebody out there is looking at me like, oh, that damn commie, whatever. And I could give less than a shit,
Oh hell yeah!
How is everybody doing tonight? Well, if you were here, you'd know. We're just trying to find something to talk about, and we're high and dry except for the beer. So and Bill doesn't drink, so he's got his water and his soda there. So
I got my vitamin water.
There you go.
Come on, Chris, get in here.
Yeah, really. You don't like the conversation? Jump in and change it. That's the spirit of being in a hallway conversation at a convention. That is the stupid o'clock format. And basically, 15 to 20 minutes. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Give her a kiss for me.
We ain't going down that rabbit hole.
No.
I think I just did. But no, I was just picking on Chris. I don't have the faintest idea what goes on in his life, and it's none of my business. So, no, seriously, I don't know.
But here's the video of it right here.
Well, if it's entertaining enough, I might put down $5. Oh, these things, they happen. Now, part of it is because we were Joe-less and stupid o'clock, so we didn't have a real strict sort of leftover topics to discuss when they jumped in here. And a part of it is because we're all strong-willed individuals with points of view that are equally valid, and we're not afraid to speak out about stuff that we actually believe in, and even though it'd be boring as hell to some of the folks in the audience.
I'm a strong Bill individual.
There you go.
But yeah, when the Joe dog is away, the mice will play, I guess.
Yep.
Well, I told him we'd try not to break the furniture in the stupid o'clock room, but I didn't make any promises about it in here. We can go ahead and trash the place, and I'll put up fresh wallpaper in the morning. I got a broom, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Speaking of furniture, when I went to get my eye exams today, they told me to go back here, wait in the waiting room, and pointed out the blue chairs. Well, the blue chairs were these big metal, they looked like park benches, but all individual like chairs. They were the most uncomfortable things I'd ever sat on in my life.
Okay.
And I was texting Laura about it and showed her a picture of them. And about that time, the girl came out who was going to do my pre-exam, called my name, and I said, I'll be with you in a second. I'm texting my friend how uncomfortable these metal chairs are. And she just started laughing about it. She said, yeah, we've gotten
Probably
several
hears that a lot.
comments on that. I'm like, yeah, I don't know where their thinking was when they did that. And all the other chairs in the whole place is attic, the typical, usual, semi-comfortable ones, but those, I don't know what the deal was on that.
Were they the ones that, let's say it's like a park bench, but it's metal. It's got holes pierced all through it.
Mm-hmm.
The framework of it is black, like piping or something like that.
I didn't pay attention to that part of it, but the rest of it, yeah, you're spot on. And they were painted blue, but they, instead of one big long bench, they looked like individual little seats all put together.
Yep.
And it was that low back, yeah, metal with the holes in it, and yeah, it was just.
I know exactly which company's catalog that came out of, and I can't say it on the air because I will get in trouble at work. But
Didn't start with a G, did it, and end with an R?
You know, that's a fairly good guess. I'm not going to give it a yay or a nay, but
okay, I didn't expect you to, but
that's
kind of letting you know that we probably are on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Well, you have spent some time working in a warehouse of sorts, not necessarily a strict warehouse, but and you had to see all kinds of different products come in from different manufacturers. And, yep. I do believe that that's the same company that is responsible for the horribly uncomfortable earplugs that we get, and the inconveniently redesigned dust masks and a few things like that. They're really good masks. They keep the dust out. They just got to really.
Yeah, when I worked at Lowe's, we used to order a lot, or I'll say that the contractor's desk would order a lot from that company.
That is a major company. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and they're.
they do have a lot of good stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
But they have a great deal of things that could possibly benefit from through a few throw pillows and maybe a doily or two. Oh, the picnic tables are especially bad because there's no backs on the seats. So you're leaning up there and eating your lunch, and by the time you're through, you get a backache because there's no support. It's just a bench with no back, and it's indestructible. I'll give it that. It's indestructible.
I'm trying to think of the name of the other company besides that one, and I know
a bitch with no back.
Laura. Yeah.
Yep.
Careful how you phrase that, there, Josh.
Really.
Sorry.
We're not bringing Sir Mix-a-Lot into this. Oh man, I saw one of the. We've got to replace all the chairs in the break rooms. The plastic chairs that we got. there was one that had been sitting there for quite a while, and I noticed yesterday that somebody with let's just say baby got back had knocked the entire back off this chair, and it's just hanging on by a thread. And I'm going, I don't know how much longer somebody's going to be able to sit on that without falling through the frame to hit the floor uncomfortably and probably have to have an ambulance called. Oh, Ace, yes. I wish they'd come up with a way to dilate your eyes without the drop so it doesn't last that long. I wish they'd come up with a reason to stop dilating my eyes. I did not need to know that taillights come in 47 different colors of red when I was driving myself home.
Well, I didn't get my eyes dilated today, but I did get that nasty little glaucoma test.
I hate that. I really hate that. And it's there to pad the bill. I mean, yes, it is a necessary test for some people, but not for everybody that walks in.
Right.
When you start getting the test when you're 15 and you're still getting it when you're 63, somebody's making some money off of this thing.
Is that the one where they blow the air in your eye?
Yep, just poof.
And you're expecting it. It's not, but every time I've ever had it done, and I haven't had it done for a long time, so I knew I was due. The last time I had a glaucoma test was probably 35 years ago. But anyway, I'm like, I know it's coming, and poof, and it still surprises you every time.
Oh yeah, all right. We're gonna poof you. Yeah. Okay.
What I hate is the ones where they've got to pretty much take X-rays of your eyes. All they're doing is shining a light in there, and you're up against this thing like you're looking at a periscope in a submarine, and you're leaned over and you're leaned down, and before the doctor can get through with the test, I've nodded off. I mean, I'm asleep. I don't even know if my eyes were open when that test was done, but I still had to pay $50 for it.
And then let's see. She did the glaucoma test. She did some other ones, and then she says, "Now, Bill, there's 2 other tests that we could do." And one was some sort of retinal eye test thing or whatever that shows the back of your skull or something or other behind your eyes. And then I can't remember what the other one was, but it was the machine right next to that. And she said, "We'd like to do these, but the $70 eye exam and 2 pair of glasses would end up being about $200 and some if she did the other 2 tests." Oh, the other one had something to do with
it was a retinal eye exam.
Yeah. One was if you had they wanted to do it if you had a history of glaucoma or if you were diabetic or something like that. So, which I said I've had neither, even though I have diabetes in my family, but Mom had it skipped me and got to my younger brother and that. So I opted out of the other 2 tests.
Yep, the optometrist I go through for my free company safety glasses will not opt out of any test. So the last pair of free safety glasses I got cost me $300. Wow. I don't know what they cost. I don't know what they cost the company, but they cost me personally out of my paycheck, out of my wallet, $300 for free glasses. I'm going, hey, look, I got the cheap frames And it's y'all taking all of these tests here when I'm still a young man, or I was at the time, because I don't go back as often as I should, because free classes costing me $300. I don't want to come back here again.
Ace Bonnie said that he doesn't like the lean against the machine that they have all the lens in it. Figure out your new eyeglasses out. You need to sit there and rotate. And they were doing that with me. It's like, okay, number one or number two? Number one or number two?
Yeah, and
number one
after
or
while,
number two?
You can't tell any difference between 1 and 2 whatsoever. I mean, they've got to go to 5 before you can see a difference again.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's they got to like 15 or something like that on me, but
yeah. Now, when I went and got these, went in there, we did all the tests, we did everything. We're going 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, 1 or 2, and the optometrist pulled the thing away from me and go, "How did you get rid of your astigmatism? You've had astigmatism in that eye for over 40 years. It's gone now. How did you get rid of it?" I want to write a paper on this. I'm going, I don't know. Using a computer a lot, I guess, because that's the only thing that's been different in my life. I use a computer a whole lot more now than I did 40 years ago, because they took up an entire room and had a great big old huge, and it cost millions of dollars each, and you couldn't have one at home. So,
well, the last time I went to my optometrist, they was just checking for Wilson's disease, but he was like, "There's nothing wrong with your eyes." I'm like, "Okay," but I've been I wore glasses before that, so I was like, "Oh well, okay."
yep. The worst news that I got this last time when I went and got these new glasses is that I am starting to develop cataracts.
oh boy,
Teeny tiny right now. You're talking 20 years in the future before I have to have surgery, but they're able to notice that the corneas are starting to cloud up a little bit. And I'm going, well, good thing I didn't go for that LASIK stuff and spend a lot of money to do without glasses. Otherwise, I'd have never found out about this. These things, they happen. The more advances there are in technology, the more changes that happen in people's lives, because there's stuff that could not be detected before that now can be. It's the same as going to a doctor for a physical exam. There's stuff they can test for now that nobody even knew about 50 years ago. They didn't even have papers on it, you know?
But they still stick a finger up your ass for a prostate.
Last time that happened, I told the doctor he's going to have to buy me flowers and take me out to dinner first.
You would
Seriously.
you would think that would be advanced now.
Actually, I think they are developing a blood test, something where you, like, if you had diabetes, they take just a little finger jab and test your blood and find out whether or not there are certain, I think it's proteins in your bloodstream that indicate prostate cancer is likely.
Well, yeah, mine I just recently was done through a blood test for my prostate. Now, why they can't do that with a colonoscopy, I don't know. That was not a pleasant experience, and I'm talking about the day before. The day of was nothing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Yeah,
not
all the drinking of the
all.
Mhm.
Yeah, all the prep, and I'll just leave it at that.
And what you don't know is there is a proctologist only YouTube channel that has all those videos on it. What a bunch of assholes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I got to go get another beer after that. This is me doing the walk of shame.
There he is, running away again.
Top that one. The greatest.
Yeah, throw us under the bus, and he's gone.
Yeah. Uh,
But no, thankfully, 10 years will seem like a good long time to before the next colonoscopy. So, leastwise, I'm hoping it's going to seem like a good long time to do it because I'm not looking forward to it anytime soon.
I got 3 more years, so I ain't looking forward to it.
Well, I told Laura, I said, well, she was with me this time, and I probably couldn't have got through it if it wasn't for her. And and of course, she took me there, and when I was done with it, and they brought me out and wheeled me back to the room, and I'm kind of a little foggy. And then she came in, and everything was okay by my standards at that point. But yeah, the actual examination was nothing. The worst thing that I could complain about as far as the day of was that they keep that place awful cold, and I had to consistently say, I need a warm blanket or something, and they get these blankets, the hospital blankets that are paper thin, and I think they're made out of muslin or something. They're so thin, but they have them in the little ovens or whatever, you know, and they bring them out to you and put it on. It feels really good for about 5 minutes, and then it cools off, and then you're freezing again.
Oh yeah. I just don't even want to think about it. Just
Well, it just kind of one of those things you got to go through, and I'm glad that I went through it because it's a whole lot better than second guessing if there's an issue with you. And actually, where uh, the neighbor that has the little cat Ranger, he's got prostate cancer. And so things like colonoscopies and prostate exams and all that are things that are necessary, but they can be a great relief once you do them. And they can be even a bigger relief if something is going on and you've caught it soon enough to be able to do something about it. So I don't have any problem with either, but yeah, they did the prostate through blood work. So that was kind of a new one, I thought.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think I first read about it as being a possibility about 10, 15 years ago. And I'm glad that it has finally been researched enough to be put into practice. Nobody likes the flying finger of fate.
Yeah, and that's
well,
what a lot of people had to endure, and I'm glad I was not one of them.
I was about to say it. That run, both of them runs in my family, colon and prostate. So Unfortunately.
Not my family. We just drink ourselves to death or get Alzheimer's, one or the other.
Well, that Alzheimer's runs in my family too. So,
What time is? Oh, it's just after midnight. No, I can't do that. I can't say that. I might be able to say it tomorrow night in the green room, but I sure can't say it now. We are being recorded. So, no, there was a time in my life when my eyeglass prescription did not change for decades at a time, and it was because I had a certain bad habit. And as soon as I gave up that bad habit, I started going blind. So,
I wonder what bad habit that was.
I think Christine has a job that that has something to do with the early stages of creating the product that would lead to that bad habit. But we shan't go into it any further because there could actually be children watching this tomorrow afternoon. Yeah, right. Well, could be. I don't know. I've had people watch this a month after the show's been on, and they pull it up on YouTube and go, "Listen to these crazy old fuckers."
Well, after all, we are children anyway, so.
Yeah. Except biologically, I'm still about 16.
Well, like we all.
I'm about 7.
No. Would have to be about 25 because I don't drive fast anymore. 16, I drove fast.
Yeah, I was about to say about 25.
Oh, Chris wants the link now after busting our chops. Well, let me see here.
He's done now.
Yeah.
Whatever it was he was doing.
No.
Well, well, that lost that one. Started to rejoin the channel as myself with another camera. No, copy link, not join. Okay, now here we go. And Chris, it'll be to you here just in a second. Let me. Okay, yeah. Yep, that worked. Okay. I'm always amazed when I actually do something right with these things. I mean, I've only been playing with computers since the 1980s. So I'm continuously amazed when I get one to do what I actually want it to do instead of what I just told it to do. That's the challenge there. If you can figure out a way to get them to do what you want to do instead of what you tell it to do, because they can be 2 or 3 different things at one time. But,
well, I'm a late bloomer. I got my first smartphone in 2009. So I kind of played around with some laptops to see if I wanted a computer about a year before that, but nothing would ever make me pull the trigger on it. But when I got my first, it was the first generation Droid that I had, and got it used from my sister-in-law, and her name is also Jen. That's why I call my other one, my adopted sister, Jenny. Everybody calls her Jenny, so I call my sister-in-law Jen, but she wanted the Droid too. And my brother said, "You just got this other one," and and he said, "Well, your brother needs a smartphone, and he's got one of the old-fashioned flip phones, Motorola flip phones. Let's get him this Droid." And basically so she can get a brand new one. So that's how I got mine.
You get a hand-me-down.
I got a hand-me-down, but she took good care of it. So,
Well, when I was a teenager, a very young teenager, um, my mom worked in a savings and loan company as a part-time computer operator and a part-time teller. The computer she operated was this huge piece of machinery that read punch cards. Didn't even have a hard drive. And part of it was a desk. Then there was a cable that went to the punch card reader. The cable that went between the two of them is as big around as my arm. Well, let me see if I can get it on. Yeah, I mean, you're talking, 4 inches in diameter or larger. And then that went to a monitor, which was this little 19-inch black and white monitor in this big old wooden enclosure. And she had to run the interest on savings accounts, the withdrawals and the deposits and all this. And every time you had to change jobs, which means if you're not doing interest, you're doing withdrawals, you had to change punch cards and reprogram the book. Deposits, you had to change punch cards and reprogram the book. And I'm sitting there watching her after school, and she's going through all this mess to do something that's really simple that can be done on an Excel spreadsheet now. I mean, on a laptop.
As I
But
said, the good
yeah,
old floppies on the IBMs that we
oh,
had to use in elementary school.
yeah. I started off my first actual computer was a TRS-80 Radio Shack Color Computer 3. And you put a cartridge in the side of it every time you wanted to use a different program. And I had a whole bunch. People had given me these computer magazines, and then they had programs in the back of them that you could write and run them through your computer. And I had to go ahead and figure out what language it was and what language it had to go to in order to be able to get the darn thing to work. Hey, Chris.
Hello.
Hey, Chris.
hi, Chris.
So
Yeah.
I played around with that stuff for years before I ever. Let's see.
Your DOS and all that crap.
Oh no! I mean, we're talking.
Before that,
We're talking Fortran and.
Pascal.
Yep, this is before DOS came about.
Cobol.
come on,
Yeah, this was
you
all
come
stuff
in
in the
here.
Coco 3, a TRS-80.
Come here.
Yeah, I
You coming
remember the RS-80s.
I had to convert programs that were written for a Commodore or an Atari to where they'd run on the TRS-80, and I actually learned a bunch of stuff, but it became obsolete really quick.
Yeah,
And
but
then
early '80s they were nice computers.
yeah, I wrote the first outline for my very first attempt at a novel on that thing, and printed it out on a little daisy wheel printer that had to have a paper clip inserted in a certain specific spot to keep the printer working.
The old dot.
Yeah, I mean it was the wheel actually went around to get the right letter, and
Yeah, I remember.
Fanfold paper. Either that or you had to feed in one sheet at a time. So you had a box of paper that would go up through it. And then, let's see, a few years later, actually wound up with enough money to buy a 386, which was state of the art at the time, and came with a whopping 20 megabyte hard drive.
Yeah.
Lord, how far we've come.
Yeah, I was about to say, your phone's got more than that now.
Hey, a wristwatch has more than that now.
Yeah, I was about to say.
You used to have buildings that had that capacity.
Mm-hmm.
I remember early 80s, if you had a home computer, if you had a Commodore 64 and an Oki Data printer, you were living pretty high off the hog.
Yep. And you had a really good set. I think after that, I skipped the 486s entirely. Went from the 386 to a Pentium.
Yeah. Well, Pentium's just a 586. I mean, it's
Yep.
all the same architecture.
Yeah. And it had this button on it where you could turn this Ferrari into a Yugo by dropping the speed down.
Yes, it did.
And it even had a keyboard lockout switch. You could put a key in it and turn it and lock so that nobody could type on the keyboard. My oldest boy was a teenager, and I let him on the computer. And then his mama found out. he was looking at rather adult pictures on the internet, and I went ahead. I wrote a batch file on this thing where when the computer started up, at the end of the boot screen, it would come up with a bright red screen says, "Preparing to format all hard drives. Press any key to enter." But I locked out the keyboard. If you'd been able to hit any key, it would just went ahead and booted because it was totally fake. But it scared the crap out of him. He thought he was about to erase my entire computer, and so he quit messing with that, and probably went out and bought his own later on. I mean, those were the days.
Nothing like the old dial-up.
I actually went through the. Oh Lord, what was the 8-bit one? I can't remember. I went through about 4 different of those dial-up modems before they ever got something like the DSL that I got now. God, generation after generation. Thankfully, I never actually had to deal with the ones where you took the telephone off the cradle. Yep. And dropped it down on the modem for the audio signals to go back and forth. That was a little bit older than my generation of computing, but I had seen it done.
I remember when the jump was made from 56 kps to 128 kps. People thought they were really something when they had that one.
Yep.
That's where I started out, I think. It was 128.
I think 128 was like the 4th generation of those screeching modems that I had. So.
Oh, I hated that dial-up.
Yeah, well, had to sacrifice a robot just to be able to get online.
Yeah.
And you had to listen to its screams of agony as it connected. So
it might have took 5 minutes, but
kind of like the torture droid in a certain movie we won't name.
Yep. And the weirdest thing was I had to have, because I was married at the time. I had to have 2 phone lines in the house, one for the computer, one for my wife.
Yep.
Because she was very telephone oriented.
Oh yeah.
May she rest in peace. But she was always on the phone. So if she picked up to make a call, I got disconnected. So that had to end real quick. I wound up with a dedicated long distance line from Athens, Georgia to Atlanta, Georgia. And it didn't cost as much as the regular phone line. Because that's all it was used for, was going online. So they had a discount deal for just a computer line.
Yeah. And
It
you were
was,
able to take advantage of it.
yeah. Well, if I wasn't online on the computer at the time,
Yeah.
I could actually punch a button on the phone
Mm-hmm.
and use that as a second phone line. And
Yeah.
it was free long distance to Atlanta.
Yeah.
So all my friends in Atlanta I could call and talk to, even though it'd take me 90 minutes to drive to go see them in person.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah, it worked out. At one time, I had 2 phone lines here in the house, one for the computer and one for the phone. Now we've just got the one because we've got supposedly the highest speed DSL, which is still pretty wimpy. But they haven't run fiber out this way yet. So
I've got 500 down here, but
I think I've got 25 GPS, GBS, gigabits per second.
I couldn't tell you what I've got. I did a speed test, and I still don't know how to read the darn things. All I know is my friend in Kentucky has got a gigabyte input, so he can download an entire movie or an entire TV series that somebody's got online in about 30 to 45 seconds. Whereas it would take me about half a day.
Well, I was about to say, I've got 500 download and 20 upload. But, that's pretty good.
Joe's internet. He's got gigabit service.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good stuff. But after the big boys saw what his utility had done, they made sure that some laws got written to prevent that from happening again.
Oh. It's always something. You wind up doing your best, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, "Hey, we could have charged them more. We didn't know they were actually going to use it."
Well, I was just about to say we're supposed to have a hard line, but we don't use it. So,
yeah, it's one of the weird rules the company has not changed yet. You think they would, but now in the age of nobody has a landline phone, everybody's got cell phones. I still have to have a landline phone so that they can call me and say, "Hey, look, we need you to come in and work overtime."
Well, we have for Laura's 86-year-old dad. He has a cell phone, but he has just he's hard of hearing, and the volume on it's not very loud. So we heard that AT&T was still doing landlines. To only find out they didn't do it in this area. So we got, and I can't remember what it was through, but I think it's through Comcast. It's a wireless landline. So it has looks like a router or a modem or something that you plug in, and then you can use any landline phones, which we have a couple cordless telephones that we bought at the auction.
Gotta be through Xfinity.
Probably, yeah, Xfinity. So Comcast.
Well, all it is a rebranding of the name because people don't like the company that it's with.
Yep.
Right.
People don't like Comcast, so they're like, "Okay, we're going to change the name to Xfinity."
Yeah, it's the same people. And
same thing with Charter and Spectrum.
Yep.
But we can take that with us, like when we go to Chicago. we could take the phones and take that little box that you got to have and just unplug it, take it up there, plug it back in, and we got the same phones up there. So we put one phone in his bedroom and then the other one in the living room, between the living room and the kitchen. But it has a very good range. He's basically on 2 acres there, and it will go anywhere in that 2 acres with just clear as a bell. So and then of course these old cordless telephones that were 15 years old or 20 years old or whatever, they got nice, good, loud ringers on them.
Oh, yeah.
So
now
you
my
hear
mom's
them
got
pretty
something
well.
that I like. She's still using a satellite dish for her TV.
Yeah.
So when her phone rings, it flashes up on the screen with the caller ID on her TV.
Mm-hmm.
So even if she doesn't hear the bell, she knows somebody's trying to call, and she can reach over and pick up the landline.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's pretty good for somebody that's in their 80s. I mean, it comes in handy. I mean, I've been, because of the factory, I've lost some of my hearing, so I don't always hear the landline phone go off, even though I've got one right here.
Yeah, well, the landlines come in handy, especially if you have if you're taking care of elderly family members and you need to call 911, and they can get a more exact location than wireless. I mean, they can get it through the wireless, but it's a whole lot easier through a landline.
Because you got to triangulate through 3 different cell towers to get a good location on a cell phone.
And speaking about Spectrum being Charter's internet and Xfinity being Comcast, Windstream has Kinetic as their
new
internet
rebranding.
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
I was about to say you got to have a backup battery too on your
landline.
Your modem, because it won't work.
None of mine have a slot to put a battery. So if the power goes out, I'm screwed.
Yeah.
The phone line might be fine, but there's nothing to drive the modem.
If you got a landline, you should be fine.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I can make phone calls on the landline, but I can't stay online.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as far as Windstream and Kinetic, they started off here as Alltel, and everybody knew they were the worst phone company in the entire universe.
Well, Atlantic Telephone, Alltel, if you will, got bought out when Verizon started swallowing up companies. They wanted Alltel's wireless, so they spun off the home, regular landline phone company to into what became Windstream.
Yep. I remember it well.
Because Verizon bought them and GTE, because we used to have GTE before Alltel came into this area. You remember General Telephone Electric?
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think Kate Molding, the one that played Janeway on, I think she used to do the voiceover commercials for.
Kate Mulder.
Not Mulder. Mulgrew.
Oh, Mulgrew. Okay.
Yep.
Mulgrew.
I didn't even think of it.
Yep.
It could have been. I could be mixing up with South Central Bell because she used to. I think she used to do those too. But.
Yep. I remember when I was in high school, the phone service my parents had was Southern Bell.
Yeah.
It's basically AT&T.
Yeah.
Southern Bell.
That's who my grandparents had was
Mm-hmm.
AT&T. Well, Southern Bell or
Well,
AT&T.
when they broke AT&T up, they split it into what was called the baby bells.
Mm-hmm.
The Northeast was 9X. I think you had Mid Atlantic for Pennsylvania in that area. And then you had Bell South for or Southern Bell for, and you had South Central Bell, and then you had Pacific Telephone or PacTel,
Mm-hmm.
and then you had I can't think of the one that covered the Midwest, but you had all those, and basically at some point they started reconsolidating because AT&T and Southwestern Bell, Southern Bell South and Southwestern Bell,
So, the
and
Southern Company.
they all formed into singular, and then they purchased another one, and it became AT&T. Because my actual first cell phone was a Bell South Mobility. I'm dating myself. It became singular, which eventually
Yeah.
became AT&T.
I was about to say, yeah. I think my first cell phone was singular wireless. So,
Now, I can remember back when I was in grade school, would have been second or third grade up in Clinton, Tennessee, near Oak Ridge, Knoxville. They actually came through with a working telephone and taught kids in elementary school how to answer the phone, telephone etiquette, how to dial the phone in case of an emergency, and all that. And this was in school.
Yep.
And I'm going, okay. Uh,
Do you remember in the rural areas, especially where they had party lines?
oh yeah, I remember party lines. Even not necessarily all that rural, but not a very large city. And now I only saw the crank type phones from say Hee Haw and stuff like Green Acres and whatnot. I only saw those on TV. I've never actually experienced one in real life, but uh, it was a simple system that worked.
Yeah.
And there was a time when people in the Midwest and probably in the Northeast as well, people that lived on farms basically,
Yeah.
they would have an emergency set of wires from their crank type party line phone. They would hook up to barbed wire fences and be able to get anybody within 20 miles that also had their emergency wires clamped onto the same barbed wire fence.
No.
So you didn't even have to have it in case of a power outage. You had the generator in the phone. You could talk to your neighbors on the party line using a barbed wire fence instead of the phone line, bypassing the phone company entirely.
Yeah.
So it's like a closed circuit cable television, but for telephones. You got to have a barbed wire fence strung pretty tight to be able to use it for a phone line.
Yeah. And runs into it.
Yeah.
Like a herd of cattle or a vehicle of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, something like that happens, you got to go out and fix the fence anyway.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're talking farm country out here, so yeah, you can't have your fences go down, otherwise the cows will run off. So, and that's money.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, these people that live in the cities or suburbs that never had to pick beans or harvest potatoes or anything like
have a
that.
garden to get by. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't know what hard work is.
Yeah. If the shit ever hits the fan, some of those folks are just going to be totally clueless as to how to get
Yeah,
by.
they're going to be shit out of luck
Yeah.
unless somebody helps them out that knows what the heck's going on.
And you know how few and far between that is in a major city.
Very few and far between in a major city. You might know some people in the suburbs, but you're going to have to go out to rural areas to really find people that probably know what the heck's going on and how to plant and all that stuff.
Yeah, you got to go out into farming country to be able to find that kind of knowledge. I grew up with the remains of a blacksmith shop in my grandmother's backyard, and yeah, evidently one of my great grandfathers or one of my great granduncles was a blacksmith for that particular part of the community.
Yeah.
So, and it explains a lot about where my dad developed a lot of his skills as a machinist. I mean, you make stuff out of nothing, basically. Yeah. So,
well, I mean, that's why a lot of people have the last name Smith. They were blacksmiths, and they were one of the most valuable members of any community you could have, especially when back in the days of swords and conquest and fighting between neighboring nations and countries and whatnot.
Yep. And aside from the general store, the blacksmith shop was a place where folks hung around and passed news back and forth to one another.
Yeah. Well, you were waiting on something to be made or repaired or whatever, you pass the time. It's sort of like, the barbershop.
Yep, exactly. Same sort of thing.
Or for hairdressers for the women.
Yep. And I was about to say it was very split as far as genders are concerned. I don't imagine there were very many women hanging out in the blacksmiths.
No.
I don't imagine there were very many men that were hanging out in the hairdresser's shop. The same sort of network, just segregated, unfortunately. But that was the times that it was. Not like the other segregation, which was kind of evil to start with.
Yeah. But, yeah, it was just a different time. I mean, I remember I was little when things started transitioning over to some of the more technologically advanced and people got away. But, I remember my grandfather planting gardens every year.
Oh, yeah.
Him with it. And, he'd take stuff to friends and family and, we had extra and grandmother canning stuff. And, that's what got us through the blizzard was grandmother had chilled and unchilled green beans canned and tomatoes and tenderloins. So we had vegetable soup with some beef in it, and we threw all the stuff in the refrigerators and freezers outside, and and there were snowdrifts up to my chest. That's how much snow we had for anybody that wasn't around during that time. It was unlike anything I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I remember some of my elderly relatives still had ice boxes instead of refrigerators.
Yeah.
And indoor plumbing was a novelty.
Oh, yeah. Well, my great-grandfather's place had a outhouse.
Yeah. One of my childhood chores at my paternal, my dad's mom's, when we went to visit on the weekends, I had to take the chamber pot to the outhouse every morning and empty it out, take it out to the side of the road where there was a spigot, city water, and a hose, and rinsed out, clean it up, bring it back in. Hey, Blake.
Long time no see.
Blake.
Can you actually hear me?
In a day.
Yeah, we can hear you just fine.
Okay. Last time I had weird audio issues. Many moons have passed. How are you been doing?
Oh, we're doing great. We're doing great. We're basically taking a trip down memory lane. Chris kind of jumping on us for talking politics, and then come in here. We started talking about pre-civilized societies, like 1920s U.S. And some of the stuff that we grew up with in rural areas back in the 60s and early 50s that most folks would not know how to cope with today if they had like lack of indoor plumbing and outhouses and chamber pots and having to boil water in a tea kettle if you wanted to take a bath, and you would take a pan full of water to the back bedroom and washcloth and a bar of soap and a towel and stand there and pretty much do it like it was back in the frontier days. And that's why a lot of cowboy movies always made so much sense, because I knew exactly what those porcelain utensils were for. Yeah. So
I was thinking about how much fun it will be to spring a rotary phone on some of these kids these days.
They did that on, what is that channel? React. There's like these two brothers who have this YouTube channel, and they throw like old computers at like kids that are usually between the ages of like 7 and 17. And they're like trying to jam their fingers into the rotary buttons to try to make them work. And they're like, where's the touch screen? And all this other stuff. And I'm like, oh my God. It's like...
I actually saw that happen in real life. We was at a flea market, and somebody had some of the old Ma Bell rotary phones that they were selling. And this guy come up, and he had a son and a daughter who was preteen age. And he said, you guys know what this is? And they said, well, I think it's an old telephone, and he's like, yeah. And I thought for sure, well, okay, these are educated kids. And if they knew right off the bat that they were phones, and he says, show me how to use it. And just like that show you're talking about, Blake, I was seeing it right there up close and personal. They did not have a clue. It was almost like Scotty on the one Star Trek movie going, hello, computer.
To the mouse, yes. The voyage home, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I ran into
how quaint.
I ran into something similar. Yeah, they I went up to a big flea market in central Kentucky. It's like the largest indoor flea market this side of the Mississippi, and they had a whole bunch of old telephones in the antiques area. And this one little girl says, "Oh, that's one of those telephones from the Civil War." I'm like, oh my God.
No, that one would have been made out of wood. Yeah. No, I've actually witnessed this, and this is pre-cell phone, actually. It was after the time that telephones had dropped the dial for push buttons. And this girl at this party, this is a college girl at a party full of college students, needed to make a phone call real bad. So she walked up to the phone hanging on the wall, and it was a rotary phone. And she looked at it and goes, cognitive dissonance. I don't know how to use one of these.
I have it happen all the time at my work. I work for Kinko's, aka FedEx office. And we'll have people come in all the time, and usually it happens in their late teens, early 20s. And they're like, I need to send a fax. I've never sent a fax before. And I'm like, well, it's like using a telephone. And they're like, well, it doesn't have a touch screen. It's like, it doesn't need to have a touch screen. You dial a number And it's like basically like teaching toddlers to walk and eat by themselves and poop by themselves, you know.
And then there are the people that walk up and go, "I need to send a fax." Why don't you just send a freaking email? It's easier.
We ask that question all the time. It's like, would you like to scan this document for $3 or fax it for $12? And they're like, well, I don't know how to use email. I have to use the fax. I'm like, all right, that's your, we'll pocket your money either way.
Yeah, really. I have in the past run into that where faxes were required when all you really needed to do was have the darn thing scanned and send it in an email as an attachment. And
you'll notice the government always does fax because it's a wiretapping issue. Like if someone intercepts that, it gets into the wiretapping department. And that's federal time. But yeah, I've seen it so many times. It's like, I need to send this 1-page fax. It's like, can't you just take a picture of it with your phone and text it to whoever needs it? Well, it's not the same. Well, it's really better because you can do so much more with it.
It would be if your phone's good enough to be able to take a clear picture. It's exactly the same and quicker.
Yeah.
And won't cost you $12.
Exactly.
Oh Lord. One of the jobs I had at the factory, I had to take an inventory every Monday morning of some of the supplies that were there from what did not get used during the previous week, and the only way to get it to the people who needed the information was to go to the fax machine and type it in and send it off. That I had to have the report filled out by hand, run it through the fax machine, dial their phone number, hit send. And if they just bothered to use the email, I could have sent them, an Excel spreadsheet with all the information on it that they could actually read instead of my handwriting, which most of them probably could not.
Yeah, it's fine. We're all doctors here.
Lord, the world has changed so many times. I shudder to think what else I'm going to have to go through. I mean, what do you need to actually type numbers in anymore? Can't you just think it's your phone?
Yeah, that's next.
I can just about imagine what AT&T is going to charge to send a thought telegram. It'll certainly make this kind of show a whole lot more interesting because we won't be able to hide the subtext of what we're thinking while we're talking.
Oh God, that would be scary at times.
Yeah, really. I don't want to be looking at Betty Page photographs during a program anymore.
Probably hilarious at times.
Yeah. Dear boss, I'm not coming in today because you're a moron. I'm not feeling well,
Because you're a moron. You have unrealistic expectations about how I'm going to spend my time while you're paying me.
Then we all get fired.
Yeah. Including the boss, because he's got the same messages going out to his boss.
Could you imagine somebody saying, yeah, I got vision problems today. Vision problems? Yeah, I don't see my ass coming into work.
Nope.
Yeah, I'm not sober from last night. I'm still seeing triple. I could have used that excuse a few times, let me tell you. Nobody would have bought it, but I could have used it.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord.
We were talking about the old bells and all that. Talking about that reminded me of the comedy routine that Lily Tomlin used to do where she was the operator.
One ringy-dingy, two ringy-dingy. Hello, is this the party to whom I am speaking? Yeah, I remember laughing real well because I saw it first run.
And
I was trying to
think,
think of what her name was on that skit.
yeah, I can't think
I,
of
I,
it, but
I think she just
I,
went by Lily.
I think
no, she had a
she
name. I'm going to have to Google it because I almost had it out of my mouth, and then it, you know. Oh, Ernestine
yeah.
something.
Hmm.
But anyway, I think Lily Tomlin turned like 82 recently.
And still
Dang.
doing a one-woman show somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
She will not relax. I swear.
Oh hell, Betty White's what, 95?
99.
99.
I think she's 99 now.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
She's trying to beat
99. She was born in 22.
Well, and she looks amazing still.
Yeah, like
She
Dick
still
Van.
looks like she could pass for her 60s.
yeah.
Yeah, Bob Barker's 97, Dick Van Dyke's 95, and William Shatner's 90. They showed up a couple of people that are old on my list.
And I think James Hong is about 95, 96, somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't he just get a star on the Hollywood Walk of
Finally,
Fame?
about dang time.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. The man's been and done everything.
Mm-hmm.
So many times they wait for him to get him posthumously, and I'm glad to see they get him where they could still be around to enjoy it a little bit. You know,
Yeah,
the same way
really.
with Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Well,
Yeah.
How many groups are still waiting?
yeah. Well, they do them because they're dead, because it's cheaper. They don't have to fly them and their families out on behalf of the star program. They don't have to put them in hotels. So they just kind of hang out and wait for a while.
But it's bullcrap. How in the heck does Green Day get in there before Foreigner?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, Mick Jones is in his 70s. He's not getting any younger. Get his ass in the Hall of Fame.
Mm.
Well, look at Mike Nesmith and Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees. You know,
Mm-hmm.
They're doing their farewell tour.
It's going to take them forever. But yeah,
And it shouldn't. I mean, there are people that have changed the face of music.
Well, and the thing is, you've got also bad blood within certain members of certain groups.
This
You
is
know,
true.
yeah, like the Beach Boys.
Well, and not even the Beach Boys. I'm thinking of Chicago. I mean, Peter Cetera should have been in with the band. I mean, they didn't necessarily have to play together, but have him up there on stage with him.
Right.
And, you know, you have the two competing yeses.
Yeah.
And then you have, I'm trying to think.
Well, it was like that with Pink Floyd with Roger Waters and
David Gilmour.
And David
Gilmour, yeah. They were long time battles with each other.
Yeah, but they were the two main driving forces, creativity wise, for the band.
Yeah.
Well, after oh God,
Sid
my
Barrett,
wife, Sid Barrett. Thank you.
Yeah.
I could not think of his name, and I'm so ashamed of that. Yeah.
Shine on, you crazy diamond.
And then you have the 15 competing lineups of King Crimson.
Yeah, and then the other one I was trying to think of, Deep Purple, when they got inducted. John Lord had died, and you know, they had David Coverdale, who was only with them for a brief time up there, but no Richie Blackmore.
Yeah,
I mean, I know Richie can be hard to handle and deal with at times because he suffers no fools and he has high expectations, but he's always been one of the best guitarists around. I mean, I won't say he's the greatest, but he's pretty dang good.
He went through an awful lot of bands before he had one with his own damn name on it.
Well, Rainbow was him getting tired of not being able to exert more of his influence in Deep Purple.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's this impulse in musicians. I want to say of a certain stripe, but that's totally rude.
Yeah.
That know what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
and they want to have control, because otherwise it's not going to get done the way they want it.
Yep.
And if people would just let them go ahead and do what they want to do, you wind up with a whole lot more beautiful stuff coming out.
Yeah.
And when it comes to musicians and artists,
Mm-hmm.
and probably several other categories of that kind of inspirational stuff where you just create shit out of thin air.
Mm-hmm.
If you got a vision and somebody won't let you do it, they're screwing over the entire world, basically.
Well, yeah. I mean, if nothing else, let them do the version that they're, so adamant about getting out. Let the other person do that version.
Mm-hmm.
See which one sounds better, or put them both on the album.
Yeah, which one sells more? That's the test of time. Which one is more people going to pull out their wallet and buy?
I'm probably get some slack for this, but I actually like the remake of 25 or 6 to 4 that was released for Chicago 18 better than I did the original, and I like the original one. I just like that version better. And then there's some covers that I like better than the originals.
Mm-hmm. I can't think of the examples right offhand, because there are things that I've got to stop back and think, oh, wait a minute, that was a cover, and there's so many.
Van Halen's "You Really Got Me" cover of the Kinks song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would never have thought of that.
Well, they did Pretty Woman too. There was, I think
Yep.
they were contractually obligated in the early days to cover some big hits.
Yeah.
But
everybody did that.
They had an album commitment that they really didn't feel like doing, so they did covers instead.
And now, I loved Grand Funk Railroad's version of Little Eva's Locomotion.
Yes.
Yep.
That was just rocking to me. And that was actually the first one I ever heard. But as far as 25 or 6 to 4, I got to like the original the best, because my all-time favorite guitarist and the lead guitarist in the world is Terry Kath. And I mean, when Jimi Hendrix says that this guy plays better than me, there's something good about him. Well, and I'm talking about the album version of 25 or 6 to 4, not that cut up K-Tel version that they would play on Top 40 radio.
Yeah.
But the version where you hear all the wah-wahs, pedals and that, and that does it for me. And that
I always liked the 1970s version of Chicago, because we got to play that as marching band.
Mm-hmm.
And during my senior year, we actually had a guitar player and a bass player. So we're out there doing the brass parts. You got 100 people out there doing the brass parts, and you got two guys standing there on the sidelines, with a couple of guitars and some amplifiers, and it still sounded good.
I thought was cool about my high school band is the director loved Asia, so they actually did a pretty good version of their "Only Time Will Tell" song.
Mm-hmm.
And
I imagine if they
will surprise you.
I imagine if they'd done a version of "Heat of the Moment," it would have stood out too.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But going back to covers that I probably like better than the original ones. Don't get me wrong, I like the original ones, but I love Hall & Oates' cover of "You Lost That Lonely Feeling."
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Well, they kind of did it like the original in a lot of aspects. You know, there was a
yeah.
lot of Bill Medley sound in there.
But there
That
was
that
also
was
their own
as
spin
much
on
of
it.
an homage as it was a cover.
Mhm.
They tried to get as close as the two of them could get, and they did a damn
And,
good job.
and there's actually artists that um, had a bigger hit with an artist's song, but the original version was pretty dang good itself. I'm going to reference Hall & Oates again. They actually performed, and I think they wrote "Every Time You Go Away," which Paul Young made very big hit.
Mhm.
He was a British artist that was.
I remember it well. It was very big on MTV back when they actually had the unmitigated gall to play music instead of wrestling.
But if
So
you ever listen to Hall & Oates version, it's got an organ on it,
I
and
probably have heard it. I probably have heard it.
I think it was on their Voices album, but I'm not positive.
I'll be right back.
One that I've always liked better, the cover as opposed to the original, and I like both, but I much preferred Atlanta Rhythm Section's version of Spooky compared to the original by the Classics 4.
Yeah.
Both good in their own right, but there's a jazzier quality to the Atlanta Rhythm Section's cover that I just to this day I just will crank it up if I hear it in the car.
I think Atlanta Rhythm Section's a very underrated band. There are some that I think made it look so easy and seem so easy that people didn't give them quite the credit they deserved. That was one of those bands.
It could also be said that the Beatles had better popularity with their covers of rock and roll music and Roll Over Beethoven and Please Mr. Postman.
Speaking of Roll Over Beethoven, I like ELO's version of it.
Yeah.
And racking my brain here trying to think of other examples. I was mentioning original artists that had other people cover it, that those covers did better. Prince wrote "Nothing Compares to You," which Sinead O'Connor was famous for, but his version is pretty dang good too.
Oh yeah.
And Prince would write a lot of stuff under aliases. So one of the songs he wrote was "Manic Monday," that was a big hit for the Bangles. And his alias for that was Christopher Rainbow. And there's sometimes somebody's come and did a remix of an original version that I liked just as well as the original, because I think one of those that they kind of put a little bit more drum beat and rhythm into was the Four Seasons, Oh What a Night.
Yeah.
It's almost like they did a dance version of it where there's a little more drums and rhythm and percussion in it, and they speed it up just a little bit, I think. We were talking about how we thought Atlanta Rhythm section was very underrated, and Bill was talking about how he liked their version of Spooky better than the Classics 4.
Yes, and I agree. Atlanta Rhythm section was very underrated, and they proved it time and time again. With almost 90% of their material was better than people thought it was, because they just heard it on the radio and they didn't get to experience it live.
Well, that's another thing I was talking with Bill about, is I think some are so good at making it look easy and sound easy that they aren't given enough credit because they're so effortless with it.
Yeah. And that just goes to show what kind of talent they had and how much hard work they put into developing their talent.
Well, you was talking about some of them being more upbeat covers of the original. It got me to thinking of Elvis Presley's A Little Less Conversation, and then the cover that was done by JXL 15 years ago or so, however long it goes, and which I love the original by Elvis and that, but and I'm not really such a fan of dance music per se, especially techno. But this particular one was the exception to the rule for me, at least.
Yeah. Well, there's always ones that will surprise you. I mean, I don't know if you heard this while you stepped out, Dan, but I was talking about some of the original songs that somebody did a cover of it that charted better, but the original still sounded good. I told you about Hall & Oates and Paul Young with Every Time You Go Away. Sinead O'Connor made Prince's song Nothing Compares to You really huge, but he does a very good version of that song.
There are a lot of people that to this day do not realize that Prince wrote that. Yeah.
And he wrote Manic Monday for the Bangles under the synonym or alias Christopher Rainbow.
And I did not know that. Yep. I did not know that.
Yep.
And I knew he was a very prolific songwriter and had a habit of just passing stuff out to people.
Well, that's another thing. He, one of the reasons why he changed his name to Symbol was to get out of the record contracts that he was in, because he didn't want to give them control over the music that he created.
Yeah. I remember those days. Yeah.
The artist formerly known as Prince.
Guys, we've been going on for 2 hours. We can keep going if you want to.
Well, it's past the witching hour here in Cornfield County, so I better go hide under my bed and for the evening. No, seriously though, I do need to get going because tomorrow is another day, and because of the announcement that I made earlier about having a short story in Wendy Lou Lee's book, I need to start working on a draft or something, because like I said, I sent her an elevator pitch of basically my witnessing as far as what was going on with me after the last of my immediate family had passed away, and I was kind of nowhere and had just the feeling of not having family was horrible. Only to have this other family pretty much adopt me into theirs, and so it just changed my life. And I like I said, I gave her a little brief outline of it, and I'm sitting there texting Laura the other night in the middle of asking her a question, and then I get this email from Wendy Lou Lee, and every time I mention her to Laura, I always have to tell her she's the one that played Baby Grace on Little House on the Prairie, you know, because she's in the later seasons. You know, a lot of people don't recognize her right off the bat. You know, they know the twins that played Carrie, but they don't always know the twins that played Baby Grace, which was Wendy and her sister Brenda. But I need to start formulating a good draft and trying to put some things together tomorrow. And so I'll probably be working on that while Brian's show's going on in the background, and I'll have some good background noise for that. And then, of course, got the auction tomorrow night, and get into the green room at some point. I don't know if it'll be as early as it was last week, but we just really had nothing to stay for the auction. And then Laura had to work on Saturday, which she has to work this Saturday as well. So it might be another early night there. I don't know. It just depends on what they have and, you know, what mood we're in. So,
Bill, if you want some advice from a writer, put your heart into it.
Yep.
Don't worry about typos. Don't worry about edits. Don't worry about anything. Just put the words down.
Well, because it's going into her book, I know she's got good editors for me. And part of her email to me was that she would take what I sent her already and what I'm going to send her, because she asked a bunch of questions in this email. So between what I sent her already and what I'm going to send her, I think she's going to compile the two together.
No, I meant as the first draft. Don't worry about anything. Just let the words come out. Just let the words come out and make it from the heart, and it'll be a good first draft. You can edit later.
And there's a little bit of a timeline to be considered too, and I got to get that right in my head too. But yeah, I'm not going to make anything too complicated. She didn't give me a limit on the words that I'll be allowed, but I know even at that, if she needs to condense some of that down, it's her book. But I'm just greatly honored that I'm going to be doing something, have some little small minor part to do in her book. And like I say, I'm an artist, not an author, so this is going to be kind of interesting, and to see what I can do with it. It's definitely going to be a challenge, but I'm up for it, and I got, just, I guess, got to get my mind right for it, as Paul Newman would say in Cool Hand Luke.
The hardest part is getting past that blank white page.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Once you get the first line, it starts falling together. And
let me ask one quick question.
Sure.
Okay. Is there a free app that maybe I can download on my tablet or something that I can go through and create a draft and kind of move some things around, and then maybe make it into a PDF or something like that to send back to Wendy.
It's called Word for Windows.
Just Word.
Yeah. Yep. If you got something that's running Windows, you probably got a free version of it on there.
Yep.
And it's very powerful, and it's very cool as long as you're not trying to throw pictures in there, because when you put pictures in it, it starts getting picky and aggravating.
Don't want anybody seeing pictures of me, so there's no threat of that. But
well, as long as you're not trying to illustrate something, it's just a straight word processor, and it's got a great spell check in it. It catches a lot of the typos. You still got to go through and find stuff that it's spelled correctly, but it's not the right word. It's the homonym or something.
Right.
Yep. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. It's words that sound exactly the same, but they're spelled a little bit differently, but they're still the correct word.
So I can go into my Google Play Store and just type that in the search engine, and some free version or whatever of it should pop up. Or
if not that, then look for Apache Open Office, because I know that one's free.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same thing by a company that does completely freeware.
Yeah.
So
That's kind of like Open Office, isn't it?
yeah, that is Open Office.
Okay.
They just changed the first name. It's no longer just Open Office. It's Apache.
Okay, cool.
I just typed in Word in Google Play, Microsoft Word Writer Editor. Is that the one you're talking about?
That's what I use, but there is a pay version that has all the bells and whistles, and I don't know what bells and whistles come with the free version. Open Office is totally free.
Yeah.
Okay.
It does the same thing, and you can even save stuff as a .doc file, which is Word format. You can save things as a PDF, and like I said, it's totally free, and it's got the spell check in it and everything else, so you can catch the simple typos. And you just have
I
to.
typed in Open Office and it said Office Suite.
Yep. Yep. That's it.
Oh, that is it. Okay.
That is it.
And it does say in-app purchases on it as well. So I'm guessing maybe a paid version of something that will have more.
There's several options in there for making it even better than it comes just raw. But the free version works just wonders without having to buy a damn thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I will save that in there, and I do thank you both for your advice on that, because I wanted to put it in something, and right now all I have is sticky notes on my on my smartphone, and I'm like, I don't think that's going to work.
Hey, the old tried and true dead trees work just as well as.
Well, but I do a lot of scratching out and wadding up papers and throwing them across the room too on those trees.
All criticism and editing.
Yeah.
The first one I ever tried, I used one of those shirt pocket size flip
memo pads.
And for every page of the memo pad, when I started putting it in a word processor, each memo page came out to be 4 pages in the word processor, because I was taking notes on the pad and I was developing stuff. And then when I started actually trying to write it, each page of the original word processor file came out to be about 4 to 16 pages, depending on how much detail I wanted to throw in about the background and the set dressing and all this other shit.
You were fleshing it out.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to worry about that, Bill. Just like I said, let it come from the heart. Say exactly what you want to say, and it can be edited later and even fleshed out even more later. Just let the words flow. Just get in the groove, start typing, and don't worry about a damn thing.
Yeah, get it down on something.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know when I send it to her, if she has more questions or wanting to do something with it, I'm sure she'll get back with me on it. I was just tickled to death that she wanted to use it, because there was going to be, she was going to pick out of so many of them to put in there. And
well, she obviously liked what you had to.
Yeah, she's a very nice person. She does a little video every Tuesday talking about everything. And like I say, she's a survivor of cancer and talked about her recent brain scan she just went through. And she's very, her videos and her if you get her newsletter or reading the her book, the Prairie Devotional book that's out now, very very uplifting, and it just, I just feel wonderful to be a part of something like that. So I was really excited, and then so yesterday morning, really excited to share it on Never Mind the Furthermore. And I think Brian, when he read it, he kind of probably missed what I was saying, because then he jumped right to something else, without commenting on it. So I thought, well, he probably didn't understood what I was attempting to say, or I didn't write it correctly to where he would understand it. So
he probably just had too many things on his plate at the time.
Well, yeah, he always has all the comment dumps and everything, and it's hard for him to catch up with all that stuff. So, but anyway, but when I get further down the road, or I guess when the book is going to come out, because she already has her editors and everything all lined up for the second book, and I'm sure I'll get a copy of it. And that I'm not getting paid to do this. This is strictly a freebie. But yeah, when it's out, I'll definitely publicize it.
Oh Lord,
and for her sake, if not for my own.
Yeah,
that, and just and whether somebody reads it and likes it or not likes it or whatever, then that was just my little attempt at doing it. And I always said I had a book in me, but I never could get it out, because I'm just, being an author is, to me, is like how I hear some authors say, oh, I couldn't draw a stick figure when they're looking at my artwork. So I kind of feel like I'm in the same boat. I was like, well, I couldn't write a correct sentence if you stuck a pin in my foot,
Bill, you're painting a picture. You're just using words instead of a brush or a pen.
Yeah. But
that's the only difference. You're trying to evoke an image in the reader's mind, a reaction to what it is you see it the same way that you're when you put pen to paper and do a drawing or a painting or whatever, you're trying to evoke a reaction with the people that are actually looking at it. It's the same thing. It's just a different sort of skill.
Well, and my main thing is
too. It's not that difficult a one either. If I can do it, anybody can do
it. I'm going on, I guess, trying to tell a story about a blessing in my life, and it for me to actually get it out on the paper to where somebody would read it and kind of give me this quizzical look, and then I would say, well, you had to been there, or you know, I don't expect them to get the same feeling that I had when these people that are so dear in my life now were really trying to pull me in at a bad time in my life, and especially during holidays. Holidays was the worst. They were absolutely the worst. And I was more content to spend Christmases out at the lake, sitting inside a freezing car, and being by myself, because I thought this is how my life's going to be from now on till it's my time to go. And then, you know, my only thoughts were, well, when I die, I'll be with my family again. And that was the only redeeming thing about any of it, you know. And these people saw that I needed to be yanked out of that, you know, funk that I was in, severe depression. And I would, especially between losing my mom and my brother, who were the last two of my immediate family. And so I had my adoptive little sister Jenny with me both times when we buried my mom and my brother both, and they were extremely hard times, and I'm glad she was there with me. And that it was still hard, but it was a hard time that I had to go through, but not alone. And so, and I never wanted to deal with Christmases and Thanksgivings and birthdays and Easters and all that, but they brought back some of the good things from it. And then with my little 12-year-old niece, Kayla, that I know that even if I didn't enjoy Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, I wanted to be there and do stuff so that she would have good memories and that, you know, and because, you know, Uncle Bill's been part of her life since she was born. And I used to hold her when she was a baby, and I still have a couple videos of her when she was about 4 years old, and I'm trying to teach her how to go across the monkey bars and that, and everything was, Uncle Bill, don't go away. Don't, make sure you catch me if I fall, Uncle Bill, you know. And to me, that's what my niece is always going to be. You know, now she's almost as tall as me and going to be 13 in November, a teenager of all things. And just, that's unreal. I keep telling her I'm going to have her start smoking cigarettes so it'll stun her growth. but yeah, you know, so, you know, it's things to live for now, I guess is what I'm saying. So getting that out of my mouth, telling you is one thing, but, you know, getting it on paper is going to be a challenge to me.
Like I said, just let your heart speak and type it.
Yeah.
And don't worry about anything else. Just listen to your heart. Put the words down that express how you feel and what you think about it, and how things were, and how you wanted them to be, and how they became. And just let it flow. Just let it flow.
Mm.
That's the that's when you know you're on fire. You let it flow, and it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. It's just, don't hold anything back. Just let your heart talk.
Well, I'm up to the challenge. It will be a challenge, but I'm up to it.
Hey,
So it's gonna, but yeah, I'm gonna start working on first drafts tomorrow, and
I believe in you. You can do this. You
yeah,
can do this.
and
You can do this, and you can be happy with it. Because when you're a writer, you know, you're not automatically happy with what you do, but when you let it happen, when you let it flow, you don't have a choice but to be happy, because that's the way it is. It's just, that's it. That's your soul. It's right there. You're pretty much letting people see through what you've typed, what is in your heart, what is in your soul, what is in your mind, and just go ahead and throw that first draft out there. Just don't worry about it. Don't worry about trying to correct anything. Don't worry about trying to fix anything. Edits can happen later. This is the tale that needs to be told. This is uh, uh, your niece. Pretend you're trying to tell your niece how important all this was, for it to happen to you when you basically just, I don't want to say giving up, but just you decided that this was the way things were going to be, and then these people came in and showed you how things can develop into something else.
yeah,
Just let your heart talk, and you'll do it right.
I hadn't given up, but it was pretty close. And I'm not talking giving up my life or whatever, or what actually is really considered a life, but I was just kind of
Give it up and
watching
shut
the
yourself
wheels.
in is the same sort of thing, just not as
Yeah.
drastic.
Well, I have a friend who has become a social recluse, to where he never was in the 40 some years that I knew him. And he's manic depressive. He had a lot of issues in his life, and he's lost all of his family, and he's with another family now that he stays with, but he stays under that rock. He won't come out. And every once in a while, he'll kind of peek out to see the sun. I'll hear from him. Talked to him a couple months ago on the telephone for about 2 hours. That's most I talked to him in the last 10 years. And, but I was really close to being that guy. I was on my way. And so, and everybody always says, come on over here for Thanksgiving, or do this, or and you say, oh, thank you. But then, when you're not feeling it, you're not feeling it.
Exactly right. Yeah.
And these people in my life now didn't give me a choice. They said, you're coming. and if you don't come, we'll come get you.
They used a lasso, huh?
Yeah. And nothing happened overnight, believe you me, but it did happen, and I'm glad it happened. I thank God for it, and thank God that I got them in my life, the same as I do you and the rest of the people on here. And it's yet another purpose in that. So, but anyway, we're gonna give it a shot.
I understand. Yeah. Go for it. It just, sometimes it's even painful, but because there's things that you don't really want to relive in your memories. But then if it's part of how you got here from there, then it becomes important.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the kind of thing that the people that you wish to inspire need to know. I'm probably not saying that right. I'm probably not saying.
Well, you kind of are, because there is a part of me that doesn't want to uncover things that I'm covered up now. And covering up in a good way. I'm not, avoiding something, but just a lot of memories of going through. And I'm going to have to uncover that stuff to write about it. I mean, I don't know any other way around it that is going to make any sense.
I wouldn't put it so much as covered up and uncovered as it's been put away so that it doesn't hurt, but you're going to have to open that cabinet and take it out and express it, and don't be surprised at all if you do that and some of the pain comes back. But it'll come back in a good way because you're working through it as if it were going to Carl to be a psychologist or something, just as a way of expressing it. Sometimes I like the words, but there are those things that we've experienced that you kind of you put on the shelf and you close the cabinet door, and it's there where you can see it when you need to, when you want to, but it's still behind glass, so it's not quite as painful as it was when you experienced it. And then to go through and write about something like that, you're actually going to have to open the cabinet and take it down and look at it closely and figure out how to put into words what it felt like then and how it became what it is now. You've got these people that have been just instrumental in renewing your interest in being alive, basically. Where when the tragedy was right there, fresh and new, you just kind of put it in a safe place where it couldn't hurt.
Right.
I'm probably way out in left field here. I'm all I know is from the from being a writer, you got to reach down into your soul, and sometimes you have to lay it bare. And it depends on what it is you're trying to write and what it is you're trying to communicate. But the words are there. The words are there. You just have to not be afraid of using them. It's like a paintbrush.
Well,
you've got to pick up that paintbrush, even though it had a couple of splinters in it last time you picked it up. this is the one you need. This is the one that's going to make the paint strokes exactly the way you want it. And you got to face that this stuff happened, and you want to talk about it. You want to communicate it to people that have never had these experiences before. And in case they do, to give them a little bit of hope that there's some light on the other side. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not an oncoming train.
Well, and having other people know that it's happened to myself or somebody else, I would like to think that would kind of, like you said, just give it a little bit of hope. But
it will. It will.
When I come on Brian's show and typing in the comments, I always start out some little kooky little thing, but then I always say, count your blessings with some little clever tagline afterwards. And then when I'm leaving, when Brian's wrapping up his show and everybody's saying goodbye or whatever, and that, I always try to include little things like, do good deeds, because I want people to go out and do something good, no matter how little it is, because if it's little to you, it could be something very big to somebody else. And how would you ever know that you could have that effect on somebody unless you just do it, no matter what little thing it is, and so, and then I always say, vaya con Dios, go with God. And that is just strictly me basically just saying, God bless you or whatever, because God does bless us. And God has blessed me with friends like yourself and all the Rising Tide people and Joe and Josh and Lewis and John and Skunk and everybody. And my family, Laura and Jenny and my little niece Kayla and Laura and Jenny's dad Steve, who me and Laura take to the auction with us on Fridays, and there are so many blessings in my life and that. So I for me doing this little thing that people will think, oh, well, he's just saying count your blessings again, or he's just saying do good deeds again. Oh, he's just saying vaya con Dios, so Brian can say happy trails, but I'm saying vaya con Dios not in the Lone Ranger reference, but in truly a spiritual reference, and but having people think of it in the Lone Ranger reference, nothing wrong with that, by any means, because when they wrote that into the script, that was kind of saying a lot about that character, so yeah, I guess I fight with myself more than anything else that what's going to end up on paper is what I do really have in my heart, and that if somebody can just make heads or tails out of it, whether they like it or not, or understand it or not, if it gets their attention if they read, 2 or 3 sentences, then I feel like maybe I did something. And that if they don't, then I'm probably not going to know it anyway. But just the fact that what little thing I wrote got the attention of Wendy, that she wanted to do this, then that does kind of inspire me a little bit to really, instead of saying, well, I'm an artist, not an author, I can't do this. I'm going to do it because she believes in me.
Yeah.
And, that's, and that means a lot to me, not because she was on Little House on the Prairie or anything like that, but because of the person she is, that I've gotten to know her, being my friend over the last few years. And I know the kind of person she is. And so for her to think that much of some little scribblings that I put down and sent to her, then I know, hey, she sees something maybe I don't right now, so I gotta try to do something to where it's going to be something that I'm going to pick up on and try to give her what she feels that I have in me. And
Yeah.
I hope
Yeah.
I don't let her down.
Well,
So
look at it this way: it's not like you're writing an essay. Do it like you're having a conversation with her. You're telling her what you've done, what you've lived through, what you've undergone, and how you came out the other side with the help of some friends, and how important that was, and things like that. It's basically, like I said, just tell it from your heart, but uh, don't make it like you're trying to some audience you don't know. Tell it to her. Tell it to her, and make it real for you. Uh, you know, give the feeling that it has for you, as if you were trying to tell her, as if you were trying to impart to her what it is in your life story that brought this about, and how it's affected you, and things like that. But you're just talking to one friend. You're not talking to some anonymous reader. They don't matter. You're telling her.
well, I'm going to give it a shot.
Oh, you'll do it. You'll
And
do it. You'll be great. You'll be great. I have confidence in you.
yeah, it's just a matter of getting my butt in gear to do it and don't procrastinate. And so like I say, I'm going to take a stab at doing the first draft tomorrow. And then if I like it enough, which I'm sure I'll tweak a few things here and there, because I'll go through. I'm pretty good about writing what I'm thinking, and then I look back and I thought, oh, I just repeated myself there, or maybe
Well,
I went a little
we all
too
do
long
that.
on that.
We all do that. We all do that. I do it
Yeah.
when I'm
So
talking.
yeah. So
I'll get
anyway,
after, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna give it a shot, and obviously I'll keep everybody updated as much as I can, or as much as I'm allowed. And but being that she's been talking about the book and that, it doesn't bother me to mention the name of her book and everything, but
No.
we don't have, I don't know when it's going to be released or anything, but I know she's been working on it all year. So anyway, but I'll go ahead and let you go for now. And before I drop out, my bed over there is calling me.
Yeah, my alarm clock goes off at 6 a.m. So
And one thing I got to remember is to unplug. Hang on a minute. Oh, sorry about that.
And now the FBI knows exactly what your fingerprints look like.
Yeah, well, I was going to unplug this J5 Create hub thing and plug my regular charger back in this tablet because I'm down to 75%. I'm going to use it at all in the green room tonight, and then on stupid o'clock on Saturday night, and that I'm going to have to make sure that it charges up good. So I'm
my
knock out of here to.
My iPad was down to like 16%, and I've got it charging now, and I've got to remember to turn it off in the morning before I go
Yeah,
to
and this
work.
hub will not allow it to charge the way it will plug straight into the charger because I have the headset and that plugged in there too. So
Yeah.
but anyway, well, I wish you a good evening or morning, and we will. If we don't see you in the green room, I will definitely see you Saturday night.
Well, probably will be in the green room. I mean, I love being there on Friday nights. It's a great way
Yeah.
to relax after a hard week at work.
Yeah, and talk to some people that you don't normally talk to, and
well, and I get to cut loose and not have to behave so well. So
there you go.
Every once in a while, you got to blow off some steam. That way, you don't go crazy in the meantime.
Well, I don't know how early I'm going to be in there, but I'm going to try to be in there at some point. So depends on when we get back from the auction. But
well,
anyway,
Bill, thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate you. And
thank you for having me.
I hope that any of the advice I've given you has been helpful and
greatly appreciated.
Well, all I know is what I do. So if somebody's got a question or a concern about how to throw words at a piece of paper and make them stick, I can do that. I can say, well, do this, do that, and see if it works. And if it doesn't, try something else. So,
and I'll download that app on my tablet.
Yep.
And
it's actually very good. And like I said, it's free, and don't worry about the in-app purchase stuff. That's like
I ignore that.
Extra dictionaries for the spell check and things like that. Don't even worry about it. I've never made an in-app purchase on this, and it's a fantastic word processor, and it's got other bells and whistles too that you might come in handy sometime later and do something else. And you can draw with it. You can write a spreadsheet that balances your checkbook. You can just type in and make let it do the spell check and turn it into a PDF or any kind of word processing file you want. It's got a lot of built-in save this as this kind of file for this other program that you ain't sort of thing. So it'll made up with lots of different word processors. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, you have a good evening, and thank you very much for being here.
You too. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Good night. Let's see, I've got to go back here and find the end credits. Now that was exceptionally nice, really was. Tonight has been a study in contrast between one sort of conversation and another sort of conversation and another sort of conversation. And it just goes to show, sort of like the philosophy behind Stupid O'Clock, where you've got a bunch of friends standing around, sitting around, and just shooting the breeze, and topics change at the drop of a hat. Some things just come out of the blue and hit you, and you just go on. It's a conversation, and that's the nice part about it. It's a conversation. So thank you all very much. And anybody that's watching this on the reruns, thank you for your attention as well. You're very special to me and everyone else who's been in the show. You have a good night. Have a good day, whatever time of day it is, whether it's day or night that you watch this, and have a good life. That's something nobody says often enough. Welcome to the Rising Tide Broadcast Network. Here you will find a variety of shows which cover a wide array of interests, from comics to creativity, mysteries to mixology, and science to history. There's something for all interests at the Rising Tide. There are shows every day of the week, daytime and nighttime. So take a look at our schedule and see what appeals to you. If you're interested in comics, both independent and mainstream, check out Comics Chaos and Sass, or Comic Book Spectrum, or from the desk of a small press publisher. If you want encouragement and advice on furthering your creativity, we have Creative as Hail and Tidbits and Scribbles. If you enjoy mysteries and conspiracy theories, we have the Truth Mongers. If you're into interviews with up-and-coming talents, there is a TED Talks made just for you, as well as clever title ending. If you're into classic combat sports, there's the Historical Fencing Guild. And if you want to know what it's like to hang out with convention regulars, we have Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing. If you want witty repartee and fast-paced fun, check out Nevermind the Furthermore. If the science of rocketry and spaceflight is your thing, we have Armchair Rocket Science. But that's by no means all the Rising Tide has to offer. New shows will be added as they develop, so stay tuned. All Rising Tide shows share a spirit of mutual cooperation, under the philosophy that a rising tide raises all ships. Lightly ruled over by our comic ringmaster of mayhem, Brian K. Morris, we support and promote each other's works. What helps one of us to greater success helps all of us achieve even more successes. So look at the schedule, check out the shows, and we're sure that you will want to come back for more.